Hi, I'm Jeff Walters, and welcome to The Minutes. And thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on The Minutes for the week of March the 4th, 2024. This is a City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council this week. On this episode, we'll have a rundown of what happened at this week's council meeting. It was a pretty short agenda, and we'll also speak to Louisa Costanzo, the Supervisor of Cultural Development, Community Programming, and Events about the new culture plan. We'll hear about that in just a moment. But first, City Council voted on Monday night to declare some city land as surplus. The 10 properties were originally declared surplus on February 12th in closed session, with that decision being ratified on Monday. The properties are mainly road allowances. They include land on Georgina Avenue, High Street South, Macker Avenue, Bruce Street, Sydney Street, Windsor Street, and Walkover Street. The surplus land is part of a resolution that was passed at Council earlier this term to declare more city properties as surplus. Council approved some housekeeping changes to the cemetery bylaw. Some provincial legislation changed, and the city needed to update its bylaw. The changes have been approved by the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. Some of the changes include allowing service animals on site, plot transfers, appeal processes, and updates in forms. Council approved a contract to cap the west cell of the Maple Ward Road Solid Waste Facility. Phase 1 of the capping of the west cell will be done by Naden Contracting for just over $1 million. 11 tenders were received for the work, with Naden coming in at the lowest cost and also under the pre-tender estimate. Final payment could exceed the tender based on the quantity of completed work. The overall work is to build a final cover on the filled portion of the west cell. The cell has reached its capacity with no additional waste being added to the area. The second phase of the closure work is planned for 2026. The final cover includes layers of sand, clay, a protective sand layer, and then topsoil and seed. This layering system will reduce the amount of water that can get through this layer, which reduces the amount of leachate that has to be collected and then treated. Council got an update on Monday about the 2023 uptake of the Financial Assistance Program for private lead water service connections. The city launched the program in 2020 to help deal with the cost of replacing lead pipes for drinking water on private property, with $1.3 million available in loans. As of the end of 2023, 95 applications were received since the program's launch. A total of 71 applications were approved for 5 or 10-year terms. Just over $1.1 million is still available to be loaned out. 3 grants have also been issued since 2022, which can be for up to $1,500 for qualifying property owners. The program will continue until the funds originally dedicated to the program have been fully spent. Homeowners who have a water connection with lead pipes can get more information on the program and their eligibility at thunderbay.ca/water. And that's a wrap as to what happened at Council this week. For more information on anything that happens at Council, please visit our website, thunderbay.ca/council. So there are a lot of plans in Thunder Bay. There's master plans, official plans, and culture plans. Well, Council heard about the culture plan on Monday night, but what is a culture plan and what exactly is culture in Thunder Bay? Louisa Costanzo is the Supervisor of Cultural Development, Community Programming, and Events here in Thunder Bay, and she can explain what culture and that culture plan is. Louisa, thanks for joining me here in the Minute Studio.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for coming in today. So let's start with the very basics. I asked the question already. What's a culture plan?
Well, a culture plan is a document or a roadmap that will help provide directions in terms of like arts and culture organizations to make sure people have access to culture arts, to make sure that there's supports for people, artists, also organizations that are involved in arts and culture and heritage. So it's kind of like basically a roadmap.
And where does that roadmap lead us to?
That's a good question. And we're not quite there yet in the plan. So right now we're only in the framework aspect. So we just last night presented the draft framework. There's still more engagement that has to happen. And then the plan will come to fruition probably in August 2024 or something. The summer.
And is this the first culture plan for the city?
No, it's actually the second. So most municipalities have culture plans. It's something that came about probably in the early 90s. The city had ours for over 10 years. It came up for renewal in a sense during the pandemic, but which wasn't really a good time to do that for culture given what happened to a lot of cultural and arts and heritage organizations during that time. So now that we're kind of on the, the path upwards, it seemed like a good time to do it.
So why should people care about culture and the culture plan in Thunder Bay?
Well, honestly, it impacts their life, their quality of life, right? Because it's not just leisure, it's not just recreation. It's kind of the way we are. It's part of who our identity is as the city as well. So it affects everyone.
So maybe you're not involved in the arts or culture, but you said it still affects everyone. How would you say that it affects people that maybe aren't directly involved in those communities?
If you attend an event, if you go to a concert, if you go to even sports is part of culture, in a sense, right? So anything that you do in your life, it provides jobs for people. It provides economic impact for communities, and again, and with tourism, with jobs. So it does impact us in a variety of different ways. It's sometimes like go to a restaurant as part of culture, right? So,
okay, so I've never thought of restaurants as being part of culture in Thunder Bay.
I know. I think the Thunder Bay culinary scene is like very specific to our city, and it's like, growing and has something that, attracts people here.
Yeah. And even just think about how different it was like 10 years ago, right? Like it's different. It's very different.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think are kind of the most important pieces of this plan?
So the plan itself, like the framework we're looking at, places, spaces, honoring Indigenous preservation or identity. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that exactly on. And then like economic development, sustainability. There's a lot of different things that are going to be touched on this plan.
And I know you said that this is our second culture plan. So in the first one, what kind of things did it recommend or did it talk about doing to change and enhance culture in Thunder Bay?
I think there's a lot of things, like it's, it kind of ended when I started, but, just the general creation of jobs, public art in the city, some of the supports like the funding and stuff like that cultural organizations get in our community came out of that culture plan. So a lot of really great things. So
I'm going to ask you a pretty tough one here because it's an abstract thought. But how would you define culture in Thunder Bay?
I knew you were going to ask me that. So honestly, I think, and even with how we went out to get an RFP and tender to look at the culture plan, we really left it as broad strokes. Obviously, arts heritage is is part of it, but it's really hard to define. I think that's because it's like our identity as a city. So. Yeah. So honestly, I'm just going to say broad, and we have so much in our city to be proud of. One of the things that has come out of the engagements, which I'm really excited about, is the word vibrancy, which speaks a lot about what's going on in our city and the demographics and the changes and everything. We have a lot of great things happening.
Yeah, like I'm almost asking you there to define what makes Thunder Bay, right?
Right. And that's a tough question because I think all of us have that, it means something different to all of us. And that is part of the cultural fabric of our city.
When you actually, though, kind of dissect the plan a little bit piece by piece kind of thing, what do you think some of the most important pieces are for people to understand and why they exist?
I think it depends on what is important to you, right? And in some aspects, people look at the economic part of it, looking at finding spaces, keeping it accessible. Like those are things that are important to us. All of these things are important, but those are personally what's important to me. So there's kind of a little bit for everyone. I think, it's just a blanket in a sense, if you will.
I'm going to make you do the 1 minute elevator pitch, right? So you've got a minute here to kind of tell me, tell the general public, if you had a minute with someone on the street and they said to you, why should I care about this? What would you tell them?
I'd say, that's a great question. I'd say, what would it be like to be in a room without windows?
Well, kind of like this one, I guess.
It still has a window a little bit, yeah.
It'll be
you're just, and you're not experiencing anything, right? Like, I think it would be lonely and there would be a solitude. And I think, you look at, say, community events, it's like bringing people together. It's getting connections, being a part of a community. So I think those things are so important, especially after the pandemic for us.
You mentioned that you want to hear from people. This is a plan for the public. How can they get involved?
So there's a survey online right now. There's a survey online right now, so you can get your thoughts in through that. But obviously we're reachable. There's information for our contact information on the survey page. So happy to chat. But we have been doing the engagement process since before the summer. So it has been out for a while. So hopefully people have had a chance to say what's on their mind.
Louisa, anything else you want to add before I let you go today?
I would love to share this quote that I found, and I can't remember who it's from, but I think it kind of encapsulates everything. So, culture and heritage organizations across Canada have a vital role to play in addressing the planet's greatest challenges and creating sustainable future. So, I think that's really important to leave us with.
Yeah, so it's all about sustainability of culture and the things that matter to people that live here.
Yeah, it's who we are as people in Thunder Bay, so it's super important.
Yeah. Okay. I've got some thoughts. I've got to get some thoughts down because it's a big question. It definitely is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Louisa, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Louisa Costanzo is the Supervisor of Cultural Development, Community Programming, and Events here in Thunder Bay. She joined me in the Minutes studio. And a big thanks for listening to the Minutes this week. Of course, if you want more information about City Council, agendas, or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. If you want to listen to past episodes or maybe provide some feedback, visit thunderbay.ca/theminutes. You can also find the Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Google, and Amazon podcasts, along with Spotify, plus our website as well. I'm Jeff Walters. Thanks for listening this week. We'll chat again next week. Make it a great day.